looking at atoms and ions. On the previous slide, we kind of looked at how atoms are quote unquote happiest when their outermost valence shell is completely filled up. By the term happy, I really do mean stable. And that does make sense because when people are stable, they tend to be a little bit more even keel, a little bit more balanced, happy. So again, 11 electrons, negative charge, 11 protons, positive charge. So right now, with 11 electrons, sodium has 0, no charge. But let's look at what the atom looks like of sodium. I'm going to abbreviate this from the last time. We know that in here is the nucleus, and that's where we would find our protons and our neutrons. I'm not going to draw them at this point. I'm just going to be plugging in the electrons for simplicity. We know that this is the first valence shell. And again, that can hold 2 electrons. I'll use red this time for electrons. And I'm just going to draw them 1, 2. Now that valence shell is filled, I still have 11 minus 5, 9 more electrons. So I need another valence shell. So here's my second one. And again, this one can hold 6 electrons before it gets filled up. I'm sorry, not 6, it can hold 8. So I'm going to plug them in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now go back through it again. We still have, let's see, we have 6 on here. We need 5 more electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Still need 1 more, but this, again, in the last video I said it can hold 6. I made a mistake. It can hold 8 electrons. But there's 8 electrons in there. It is filled up. We now move a little bit further out into the orbit. So I'm going to draw another valence shell. In this third valence shell, again, it can hold 8 electrons. But I have 8 plus 2, I have 10, I only have 1 more. So again, starting at the top, there is my 11th electron. However, this atom is not stable because it's not happy. It's not stable because it's not happy because its outermost electron valence shell is not filled. So I can do one of two things to fill up this out to make the outermost valence shell full. I can either somehow find 7 electrons to slam into this third valence shell, or I can make this ion go, or this electron go away. It's definitely easier to get rid of 1 than to gain 7. So what's going to end up happening is this electron, it detaches from that atom. So now what we're left with is an atom with its outermost valence shell now full, because if this goes away, so does this valence shell. Now this is the outermost one. This one doesn't count because there's no electrons there. It's full. Now sodium is happy because it's stable. However, in doing so, there's no longer 11 electrons, is there? We lost one. So now there are 10 electrons. Protons are still 11 in the nucleus. Neutrons, there's still 11 of them in the nucleus. Now we have a difference. That should say 11. So 10 negatively charged, 11 positively charged, overall charge, positive 1. So now we have an ion, and an ion is an atom that has gained or lost electrons. Let's check out chlorine. So looking at chlorine, element number 7, 17 negatively charged electrons, plus a positive 17 protons, we get, again, an atom with no charge. But let's see what this element looks like when we start drawing it out. First valence shell. We use red again for the electrons. 1, 2. I need 15 more. Our second valence shell can hold 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now there's 10 electrons, but I need 7 more. Third valence shell. Again, this one can hold 8 electrons, but I only have to plug in 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now I have 17 electrons. So here is chlorine. But it is not stable because I'm missing 1 electron in this outermost valence shell. So I can again do one of 2 things to make chlorine have a full valence shell. I can make these 7 electrons go away, or I can find 1 electron floating somewhere and bring it in here. Well, we see that some atoms, like sodium here, they lose electrons. So that means that there are free electrons to be found. And that's exactly what happens here. Chlorine will find some of those free electrons floating around, and it will take them in. Hey, you need a home? Here you go, I got a place. And it will take that extra electron, maybe from sodium, and it will bring it in. Now this outermost valence shell is filled. The electron makes up 8 in the valence shell. The outer valence shell is full. Now it's stable. Now the atom is happy. But since we have gained an electron, this is no longer called an atom. Again, it's called an ion. What happens to the charge when we gain an electron? Well, we had 17 negative electrons, but we gained 1. So now there's 18 negatives, still 17 positives. Overall charge, -1. So now we can have seen 2 examples where ions form by gaining or losing electrons.